it's time for Measure Twice.
Hello, welcome to Measure Twice. I'm Rob Perugini, along with Chris Kramer from C. Kramer Interiors and Joel Graber from Graber Custom Remodeling. This is the show that helps you envision your home's potential. We're brought to you, you're listening to us on Michiana's News Talk 95.3 MNC, and we are brought to you in part by Leatherman Supply. Everything windows, doors, cabinets, and countertops, with the showroom now open in Granger next to C. Kramer Interiors and Hoosier Hardwood Floors, Michiana's trusted and valued experts on hardwood floors. You could visit them at HoosierHardwoodFloors.com. Well, we're back again for another action-packed show. And that silence is indicating... No, I'm just kidding. No, we had a great show last week. Sorry, John, we went a little long. Try not to do that this week, but, you know...
When it's good, it's good. We
get to talking, and what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You know, we got to keep talking. That's our gig. So, but this week I think that I'm going to spring it on you a little bit, but because it's spring, no. We're not going to talk about cleaning or anything like that. But it is kind of interesting that people clean in the spring because it's nice out. They should go outside. Yeah. But whatever. No, this week, I wanted to talk about some of look, every house has some ugliness somewhere. Well, maybe not every house. I've not been to a castle. You know, I've not been to a palace. You've been to a palace, Chris, haven't you?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Like some big ones, right?
Yeah.
You've been to Versailles?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything ugly about Versailles? Is there any area that where you're like, oof, I don't know?
No.
No, right. Because it
was meant to be opulent, so you're not supposed to be like, oh, that's ugly.
Right, right. How old? It's pretty old.
Yeah, from the 1600s.
16. I couldn't remember how, when it was built. So they had a few hundred years to figure it out. Did they change it, I wonder?
No. Mm-mm.
So
been there twice, and it looks the same each time.
Right. Yeah, I wonder what it would be like in the 1600s.
I don't think I would have wanted to walk around the palace in the 1600s.
Oh, was that the Reformation or something?
No. It just, no bathrooms.
Oh, that's true. No bathrooms, no deodorant, no minty toothpaste.
And they went where they went, and it didn't matter. It was a hallway. They had servants to clean it up.
Are you serious?
Swear to God. That's what they tell you on the tour.
Huh.
That'd be one way to live.
No, thank you.
No. That's terrible. I don't even want to think about that.
I know, right? We never thought. Who would?
Yeah, I would never.
It's like, ugh.
No. Yeah. Okay.
You have this beautiful palace, and hey, I'm going to go over there.
Royalties come a long way.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that notwithstanding, other than a palace, right? Most homes have some things that have to be away.
Have to be away.
Yeah, like you don't have your hot water heater in the middle of your.
Oh, that ugliness.
Right, that's what I mean. But that's the easy stuff, you know. Like that's kind of easy. In most, what do you think? 99% of homes, it's hard to find the water heater unless you go in the basement. You know, like
yeah,
right. Wouldn't you say?
Well, they're always hidden somewhere.
Right. So when you're remodeling. Right, some of those things get exposed. Some of those you might have to hide them or move them, or
you.
Yeah, every now and again you do actually have
to relocate them to another spot.
That's not very often.
Yeah, because usually once it's set typically.
Well, I think what we're saying is once it's usually strategically set, so it probably won't have to move.
Right.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
My house, no. Mine's right in the middle of my basement. Like in the middle, the geographic center of my basement.
That's usually, if we have to move anything, that's why.
Right. I understand why. Because technically, in my personal situation, if I were to finish the basement, it would be easy to hide because it's really right next to the stairs. So you're not going to really build anything there. So it's not completely inane. And it's centrally located. But if I didn't have that there, it would be like, oh, you want to finish this basement? You're going to have a giant box in the middle of this room. But that would be, that's kind of what I'm saying. But not all homes are brand new homes, right? Some, like if you had a home that was built let's say in the 60s, right, and you wanted to finish a basement, you might have an issue.
I can think of multiple.
Oh, yeah?
Ceiling heights.
I was going to say, if you can finish your basement that was built in the 1960s,
I'd be impressed.
Oh, really? Oh, because they're just 7-foot ceilings or something?
Well, then you've duct work, and which actually lowers it even more.
Right.
So that's my first thought was ceiling heights.
mm-hmm.
You know, I don't. You're right. I'm trying to think of it. When did ceiling height in a basement become acceptable to remodel? Was that 70s?
No, later.
Yeah, like 80s, 90s,
80s, 90s, late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
Did something happen with the way that you built a basement, Joel, that made it like? Did they change some sort of technology? They're like, oh, we can make
Well, it
these
used
little
to be a lot of cinder block,
right. Oh,
and now it's formed and poured concrete.
so it's a little less
For the most part.
expensive to or a little less time too, right? Because if you're laying
Yeah,
another,
it'll go quicker.
you're laying another 15% of block. That's expensive and time consuming. Well, time consuming and expensive are one and the same, right?
Oftentimes, yeah.
Right. Same term.
Plus, a poured foundation or a basement wall is better than a concrete block
Sure.
as far as leakage is concerned.
It's kind of amazing technology, though, because I'm sure you could have poured a basement in the 40s and 50s. There was,
Well, they did.
cement, right? But it was
It just wasn't as common, not even close.
right because it was probably super expensive back then, comparatively.
To what? To finish a basement?
No, if you had
Oh,
to
the
use
ceiling
block,
heights.
yeah. If you were going to say, "Oh, it's 1959, I'm going to pour my basement," or am I going to use block? I think the block would be less expensive.
Probably.
Or else it wouldn't be as common.
Well, you wouldn't have had the cement trucks, and I mean, you would have been mixing a bunch of cement by hand.
Is it really? In my mind, cement trucks have been around forever, but I guess not. I wonder. That's something to Google when we're off.
Yeah.
In between segments.
I mean, I'm sure there was some, but not like now, where there's locations like concrete companies, all
Right.
over.
And you can just get it and get on the calendar, and then you get your
Yeah.
stuff.
And I think back in the 50s, too, we weren't thinking of living finishing our basements for living space.
Yeah, it was a lot of utility.
Yeah, mainly utility, not living. Everything was above grade.
Right.
Storage. Basements were basically storage.
And then but that's my question though. It's like somewhere in the 90s, something shift. Is it like the walkout?
When did the tri-level become a thing?
60s, I thought.
So that would have probably been like
70s.
that would have been probably the beginning of it.
Like the push that, there's extra space.
Well,
we
there's
can-
extra space. We can utilize it this way.
Right. The tri-level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's not go there.
Why not? It's all I can think of is my friend growing up had a tri-level, and his parents were like the hippest parents. So it like fit them. Like you walked in, it was like being on Star Trek. 'Cause there was like there was a bridge. Like, and then there was like a middle, and then there were bedrooms underground.
You can see all 3 floors at once.
Yeah, you would walk in, and I'm not kidding. You could like see them. It was like Star Trek.
Mhm.
Like holy crap. And but everything was glass, and that tinted glass, like foggy.
Oh yeah.
The staircase was a staircase, but you could see through it. What's the term for floating? I don't know. Like you could, but the railing was like brass with like fogged glass.
Ooh, stylized.
Oh my goodness.
Very stylish.
Yes. Etched.
Ooh, even
I spent some money.
I was just going to say, expensive house.
Yeah. No, it was an expensive house, but you'd think back and it's like, man, that went out of style in like
Like
5
in 30
weeks.
seconds.
Yeah, it was like instant. But you know what? I could go there now. I guarantee it looks exactly the same. I guarantee it.
Now it'd be hip.
I guess so.
Now
it would
it'd
be
be
retro. They had the everything matched. So the bar stools were fogged in the same, like they had a,
Oh, wow.
like,
Wow.
yeah, it was pretty,
Wow.
they entertained. I'm sure they were like
They were hip.
That was
they
the
were,
spot.
it was like Studio 54 in, you know, their house. They were the ones that, you know, I'm not going to say there was drug use. I'm just saying there could be. There could have been. Like, I don't know. 'Cause I was young.
While they were building it. I mean,
I'm just saying, yes. Smoke
Design
this,
it.
we're going to build that. You know, that's,
sign this contract.
we totally got off subject. Maybe when we come back, we'll get back to hiding some ugly spaces in your house. This is Measured Twice. Welcome back to Measure Twice. I'm Rob Perugini, along with Joel Graber from Graber Custom Remodeling and Chris Kramer from C. Kramer Interiors. This is the show that helps you envision your home's potential. And you're listening to us on Michiana's News Talk 95.3 MNC. We're brought to you in part by Leatherman Supply. Everything windows, doors, cabinets, countertops, with the showroom now open in Granger right next to C. Kramer Interiors and Hoosier Hardwood Floors. Michiana's trusted and valued experts on hardwood floors. You can visit them at HoosierHardwoodFloors.com. You know, that Hoosier Hardwood Floors are experts at not hiding ugly, but like fixing ugly. Like they repair your floor. If you have something wrong, speaking of, you know, you can't avoid the floor. You know, it's like you can't hide well, I guess you could throw a carpet over it.
You can hide a bad spot on the floor.
Right.
But you can't hide the whole floor.
No. And if the bad spot's in a spot that's weird to have something on it, yeah, why is
that rug over there?
why is there just one rug? You could do that on a wall. You could put a picture over something.
Oh, yeah.
Why is this picture 2 feet off the ground?
Don't move it. There's a hole.
Don't move it, right? That's our kick plate. You see that all the time, like in remodel. Like, I'm sure you've gone into places where you've kind of fixed the joint. You know, like this place is configured ugly.
Yeah.
Right? And you've undone, and they know that's why they hired you.
Right,
they know
exactly.
that something's going on, and because the whole space can be kind of, I'm using an ugly term, ugly.
Yeah, but sometimes you can't hide ugly. You have to replace ugly.
Exactly. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Sometimes it's something that's just
what is it that makes it ugly, though, typically?
The taste? What you perceive.
Yeah, and that's specifically what I'm doing. I'm not talking about function.
Trends.
Like a kitchen that could be bad, that you can perceive as ugly.
Yeah, your stove works, your refrigerator works, your sink works.
Everything else around it is not good, so you replace it. If you don't hide it, you replace it.
Right, you can't really hide a sink.
or bad cabinets.
You really can't hide bad cabinets.
No.
Sometimes even a good paint job can't hide bad cabinets.
And it is taste, isn't it? Sometimes, like it's
what we perceive.
Right. Well, that's why you go into some homes that somebody's lived in for 40 years and they've gotten used to it. You know?
You look past things after a while.
Right.
Well, maybe they picked that out originally, and they're
still
just
like
happy
it.
with it.
And they still like it.
Exactly. That's why it's taste. We might walk in and be like, it's kind
of dated. We
Yeah,
need to
like-
change this and that. But they're perfectly fine.
And it's funny because a cabinet functions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're not talking about cabinets don't function, like the doors don't open or they stay open or whatever. Generally, if they're operating, it's an aesthetic. If you can open the thing and put something in it, that's the cabinet's job. Not complicated. But if it gets dated, it can happen right before your eyes. You know, like,
Oh, yeah.
but you can get comfortable with it. We're
Yeah.
really talking about when it turns ugly, it's subjective, right? That's what you're getting at, Joel.
Pretty-
Like,
A
when
lot
is
of
it ugly?
times. Most of the time, I would say.
Most, yeah.
Because sometimes you'll wake up, one day you might wake up and look at it and go, oh, this is not out in style anymore. And then all of a sudden, once you realize it, it drives you crazy until you change it.
Right. You can't now.
You cannot not see it anymore.
Your
You
internal.
can't unsee it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Your internal voice is just always reminding you, like, oof.
Doggone it, that's not where I wanted to put my money right now, but can I live with this?
Exactly. You run into that all the time, right? Like
Every day of my personal life.
of his personal life. On your end, Joel, they've made some sort of decision.
Yes.
And do you find yourself sometimes having to like, what's the term? Not like remorse, but when people have gotten comfortable with something and then they decide to move and now it's changing. Do you see some of that where somebody's like, oh my goodness.
All the time.
Because they got comfortable and now it's not there and
they panic.
Yeah.
Right.
They can panic.
It's nothing you guys did wrong. It's in there.
And even after it's done, sometimes they're like, I don't like it. Or maybe, but you have to say, just, you give it a couple weeks, live with it. Because it's a change.
Right.
And we don't always adapt to change quickly.
Right.
And then usually after they live with it for a while, it's fine. But there's always that momentary, I don't know if I did the right thing.
Right. But that's what it is, because in your world, you're doing it right. It's not like you're remodeling wrong, right? You're doing what's on the plan and you're following the plan.
And that's just it. There's a long time between the plan and the execution. So they're involved in all the steps, but still sometimes people can't see it. They can't visualize it.
Because it's not together. And then all of a sudden it's together.
Right. Oh, this looks different than I thought it would, or this isn't functioning the way I thought it would. And so you run into that.
And you just have to finish the project. I mean, really, that's the key, right?
Yeah.
You have to talk them off the ledge.
That's where a good designer comes in. I could see it in Joel's eyes, like, okay, this is where the window's going because it's built.
This is what we discussed. This is what, just let the plan happen.
Right.
It will be fine in the end. Just it's a step process. So it's a process. You can't just, you're not going to walk in like HDTV and go, oh my God, my room is so beautiful.
Not always.
Because they're not, that's why those shows drive me crazy. Because the customer's not involved.
They don't involve the customer.
They don't involve them. So of course, it's easy to walk into a finished room and say, oh, this is beautiful. But that's not reality.
Right.
That's not how it works.
Well, and I'm sorry.
No.
When you're working on a project, Joel, they are watching it come together. If there's a scenario where they're truly just aesthetically changing something that worked, I feel like that's where you're most susceptible, because this stuff was working. Now I'm changing it.
I guess I've never really thought about when that would happen.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's an emotion that is there.
Yeah.
Because it's natural, because you just changed something. But if you had my point is that if you're in a space and that space just doesn't work, I'm using the term ugly because it's hyperbole, right? It's
sometimes
it's
just truly ugly.
Sometimes it is. We talk about that. Sometimes the fronts of these homes, it's tough. And it's not. I'm not necessarily talking about curb appeal. I've seen houses that have great gardens and all this stuff, but then it's just like a flat front with 4 windows, like a kindergartner drew it on a piece of paper. And
what I notice is the back. And the lack of character.
Right, you're having a barbecue and you're in the backyard and it looks like you could just show a movie on the side of the house.
Yeah,
because this is just, and you know what? The sides of my house are like, I go on there and I'm like, there's nothing. It's like, this is just an A-frame, a giant wall,
sided, vinyl siding.
Yeah, it's very easy to power wash. Very easy. But you're right. The backs, we've talked about that before. The rectangle farms, where as far as the eye could see, But how do you fix that? Because nobody's walking around the back of their house until they've listened to this show,
right?
And looking at it and thinking that it matters. And I'm gonna say something that the garage facing front is the turning point. You know, like there was a time where garages always faced a different direction. But that's similar to that, right? You go in and you can see everybody's garage now. Where there was a
'cause
time,
it's like they didn't. Yeah, they never even used their front door.
right? It's like a
Like a big
giant front
airlock.
door. Yeah, it's a big airlock. That's why garage doors have had to become kind of good looking. And mine is not, for the record. It's just a door, just a door. But that's part of it. That's something ugly that it doesn't have to be.
That's
Right.
true.
Nope,
That's
they don't.
true.
Nope, not anymore.
No, it's kind of easy to switch out. It might be a little pricey.
Yeah. It's not cheap.
But remember,
You get most of your money back on that.
Isn't that funny? Anybody who's a fan of the show knows that your garage door
and stone.
and stone,
Veneer.
apparently, stone facade, those are two things that are the only plus you get, according to the website,
Yeah.
you get a net positive return on your dollar.
So what if you put stone on your garage?
I was thinking the
Oh,
same
man.
thing. The Barney Rubble garage. Do you remember Barney Rubble's garage door? It was a giant slab of granite. But
Now they make kits that you can put on the face of your existing garage door and change the look.
really, when we
To make it look like a carriage door.
Yeah, you can make it look like a carriage
Wow.
door, and it's just a kit that retrofits right on your existing door.
Let's talk about that when we come back.
That's
This
how you
is
hide ugly.
Measure Twice. Welcome back to Measure Twice. I'm Rob Perugini, along with Chris Kramer from C. Kramer Interiors and Joel Graber from Graber Custom Remodeling. This is the show that helps you envision your home's potential. You're listening to us on Michiana's News Talk 95.3 MNC. We're brought to you in part by Leatherman Supply. Everything windows, doors, cabinets, countertops, with the showroom right now open in Granger next to C. Kramer Interiors. And Hoosier Hardwood Floors, Michiana's trusted and valued experts on hardwood floors. You can visit them at HoosierHardwoodFloors.com. We're talking about hiding the ugly. And, sometimes, and we understand ugly is subjective. So it's really up to you what you think is ugly. But we're talking about garage doors, and then off air, Chris was mentioning that you were at a show, or you saw something from a show in Vegas.
A local builder was there, and he posted videos on Instagram that showed innovative products for your home.
And the garage doors, we were talking about garage doors last segment and saying, hey, look, that's one of the things where if you upgrade your garage door, you actually, it's dollar for dollar. You don't lose money necessarily on them theoretically, right? When you, it's supposed to add so much to the aesthetic of your house that it actually washes its own cost. That's up to you to do your own math on that. But you think about it's a giant square footage in the front of your house, so it kind of makes sense. But we all have had garage doors, and we know how they open. They roll up, and then they roll down, right, with a giant spring. Well, you don't have to have that if you don't want to. You don't have to.
No.
Because they've come a long way, baby. You can do all kinds of crazy things. Now, Chris, what did you said you saw one that opens like a door.
That opens like a door that swings versus goes up or down.
So it comes out over your driveway.
Yep, just like
Like what means it opens like a door, like
a door.
So you got to figure it's like
It's
a
on a
20-foot
pivot.
door.
Yeah, pivots, which was interesting. And then there's one that stacked as it went up, one panel stacked behind the other.
So the idea of that is kind of like the panoramic doors, the ones that like all the panels open up your wall or whatever.
Right.
I just don't understand how that is better than just one that goes up and down.
Well, and because I was talking to the builder who went and posted these on his Instagram page, and I said, why don't you use something like that? And he goes, well, they're too modern. The style is too modern. So it has to be the right house, and we don't have those type of houses yet.
I see the utility in that, Joel, because you don't have anything over your cars anymore. So
I suppose.
if you have something like like a boat, or you want storage, you had like a Jeep, you can get install the apparatus to like just hoist your top off without having to like put it somewhere. I mean, I see that as not everybody needs that benefit, right? But I think that, right, if that could be, and I wonder if the maintenance is slightly easier.
I don't know. I would think it would be expensive if it breaks.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take this time to just, like, we don't have any garage door sponsors, and this is just unsolicited testimonial here. Get your garage door serviced.
Yeah.
Get it serviced.
Yep.
It doesn't warn you if it's going to break.
No.
It just breaks.
And
it's just real simple. Just once a year, a person comes out, oils it up for 50 to whatever, and then it lasts. I'm just saying. You just saying. Do it.
Yeah,
You're
it's well
welcome.
worth it.
It's worth it. I was thinking if you had the stackable or the swing, it feels like less.
Opens up I can see where it opens up your ceiling.
Yeah.
For more use, if that's where you're going to store stuff.
Right. That would be like the only you gain.
Mm-hmm.
But is there an aesthetic, Chris, that it looks different? Does it look completely different?
Not necessarily. I mean, it was ultra modern, but I've seen regular garage doors that are ultra modern that look the same. It's just the functionality of it's completely different.
Yeah, I would wonder, if wear and tear or if there's some engineering advantage to it. Can you have a heavier door? With that, I wonder. I mean, we don't know. I'm just speculating.
I don't know how it actually operates. I don't know what is the installation that's required. I don't know how much depth you need. I don't know how it actually works.
From a security standpoint, your garage door can either be really super secure or not secure at all. Like it's like feast or famine. Generally, they're pretty darn secure. That's why you don't see people breaking in through a garage door. It's tough you got to draw a lot of attention to yourself to break in through a garage door.
Yeah, that's true.
Which why they all face the front.
Is that one?
I don't know. Chris said that like 10 years ago, and it just stuck with me. Like, oh my goodness, they used to face the other way. You used to not have to care what your garage door looked like because your neighbor had to see it. Now it's a little different, right? You see,
I've seen almost all of them face the street.
Yeah.
Now, yeah.
Yeah. But there was a time where they didn't.
The side garage.
Right. But your garage door is definitely, I thought that was pretty cool. Like a swinging out garage door, I'm not sure I see the benefit in that. Because
that would just take a lot of space on your drive.
Yeah, like you can't park in the garage. You can't park in the driveway.
You pull up to the garage door.
Yeah.
What if you want to hit the garage door and go outside? I mean,
No, I could see like a double swinging one. Maybe you can cut that in half because it's, you're not going out 20 feet. You're going out 10, but you're still, Yeah,
I don't know.
Kind of like.
It'd have to be the right application.
If you have to pee really bad, you want to have some forethought.
Yeah.
Because you're waiting for that thing to swing open.
Exactly.
You're not like, seems a lot. I've told you about my brother's garage door. It's the fastest garage door I've ever seen. It's like Batman's garage door. It's like 20 miles an hour.
Really?
It's so fast you think it's going to shoot out the back of the. It's so fast, and the motor is. It's like a V8. It's just, and he told me he had it's a commercial garage door. So he has like what you would. He saw a video. This is hilarious, right? He saw a video of a factory, and like they like the efficiency of the factory, they included the speed of the garage doors opening for deliveries and closing for climate, and they figured that if they open and close fast, they saved over time, whatever. And so he bought that one. So it's really kind of ridiculous.
That is something right there.
It really is. It's got a catch. It's got this bracket that the door like as it has a brake, and it slides into this brake, and then it catches it. Because it's going so fast, if this fails, it needs it's pretty crazy. He's also the guy that has 2 commercial air conditioners in his house.
He gets really warm.
You
Or he
could
wants to not get
never
warm.
yeah, like never. And in the summer, he's in the summer you have to wear a jacket. In the winter, you're wearing shorts in his house. It's like the opposite. He wants to be the opposite of. But that's his thing, man. So
Yeah.
that's cool. We're going on a tangent for that, but you can get whatever you want in a garage door. Where we're going with like hiding ugly is, it's up to you what's ugly.
Yeah.
And that's why remodeling exists and design exists. You can kind of fix some of these things. We talked about having a door that opens to a bedroom
In your living space.
in your living space. That doesn't happen often. But if it does, there's ways
that
to
needs to
fix
be
it.
remedied.
Yes. And that's kind of probably easier said than done sometimes, because I think
But, yeah, it depends on the layout of stuff.
there was probably a reason why they did that. Because it couldn't be anywhere else.
Yeah, because they shoehorned it in there.
Right. But when you build something out, if you had a door that opened to your bedroom from your living space and you could look right in, wouldn't you just build just take a little bit of space from the inside and make an alcove or something so that,
I think you would want to. Yeah.
unless you had a super tiny bedroom.
I wouldn't want people just being able to. I mean, mine is off of the dining room, but
Your bedroom?
yeah.
Excuse me.
But I like where it is because my kids have to walk up the stairs past my door so
Oh,
I know.
There's no sneaking around.
That's right.
you're in awfully late.
That's really funny. Sleeps with his eyes open.
Yeah.
But that's one thing that I would think about, or like a bathroom that's, noisy, like I also think that you can have some sound ugliness, meaning your house is loud.
Oh, yeah.
And when we think about that, like we talked about great rooms and stuff last show, they're loud. Like the new configuration of homes are loud.
Yeah,
They're
you have to do things, they'll echo.
Yeah. And that's Chris, how do you combat that loudness of an wide open space? Well, that's probably a big topic. When we come back, Chris, I'm going to give you a few minutes to think about it, and then we're going to just quiz you like it's your final exam. When we come back, we're going to try and quiet the ugliness now on Measure Twice. Welcome back to Measure Twice. I'm Rob Perugini, along with Joel Graber from Graber Custom Remodeling and Chris Kramer from C. Kramer Interiors. This is the show that helps you envision your home's potential, and you're listening to us on Michiana's News Talk 95.3 MNC. We're brought to you in part by Leatherman Supply. Everything windows, doors, cabinets, and countertops, with the showroom now open in Granger next to C. Kramer Interiors and Hoosier Hardwood Floors, Michiana's trusted and valued experts on hardwood floors. You can visit them at HoosierHardwoodFloors.com. We're talking about hiding the ugly. Chris was showing us something that offline that we're not going to talk about, but because it's all subjective,
Correct.
right? But
Yeah.
But when the majority,
Yeah.
well, let me just blame the Architectural Digest can show you some ugly stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't looked at that magazine in forever.
I know, but we beat it up. But sometimes you look at that and you're like, wow, that seems weird. Like
They've really cheapened that magazine.
Well, they're like the New York Times of architectural stuff, right?
Right. And I think sometimes you have to have things wear on you, and then and then sometimes they're just fads that don't deserve to stick around.
Right.
But you guys are in the business, so you see the leading edge of these things, and that's kind of what we're doing off air, is like, this is leading edge, so we think that it's not going to stick,
Yeah.
whatever. But I wanted to talk about sound can be ugly. You can be in a loud space, and when you're buying a house or building a house, you don't know how loud it's going to be till you live there, right? And
I don't think you think about it.
I don't think so either. I don't.
It's until you're in it.
Open concepts are kind of allowed, don't you think?
It can be.
It's how it's treated then afterwards, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it's what your furniture absorbs, rugs absorb, drapes absorb. Sound prevents the reverberation. So the more layering you do, the less sound reverberation you'll have.
And you have to figure that out.
Usually you don't really have to figure it out because by the time, have you ever gone into an empty room and hear the reverberation? The
Right.
echoing? But by the time you put your furniture in place, it's gone.
Because they're kind of absorbing
Because it's
it.
already absorbing. So it's really kind of eliminates on its own.
Do higher ceilings help absorb the sound, or do they?
No, they actually help. They cause the reverberation.
Okay, because
You
there's
have more height and more for the sound to bounce around the room.
so is there anything that you have to do? Is that where drapes come in? That's where like the
Drapes
longer.
come in, rugs, anything that can prevent the bouncing of sound.
I think when you're looking at an open space like a kitchen, also not facing the kitchen towards the living area is also probably a way to avoid some of that too, right? If your kitchen is like pointing directly at your living space, excuse me,
Which they usually are
are they? I mean,
in an open concept.
pointing right back at it? Because don't they put the sinks like along a wall? And
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily, I guess.
Sometimes they're in the island,
You can tell
which
I'm a
is-
sink hater, so
which is
yeah.
I
which
really
is facing the living area.
because that's the one to me that can disrupt things. But you can have rooms that maybe aren't insulated that well either.
Insulated or old windows. Those things can allow outside noise in.
Yep.
Not necessarily the echoing that you would get in a larger room.
But
Right.
the insulation, I think, does help on the
It does
interior
actually.
too.
It does actually.
Absorb the sound.
Yeah. If you had a bedroom that was up against, if you were building a house or adding a bedroom and you knew it was up against the living area, wouldn't you insulate that wall between the living area and the bedroom differently than you would like a bedroom that was just far off somewhere?
You would think.
I
but
would
not always
think.
necessarily.
It depends on what you want.
Well, I think we're giving food for thought to some listeners who might be
Well,
remodeling.
we've had specific requests to for the first floor to the second floor
Yeah.
to insulate that and soundproof that so they don't hear any noise from
Right.
above.
So you can go to bed
But
and somebody can watch
it takes
TV.
more than just insulation to
Right.
soundproof
Yeah.
it.
What do
Yeah.
you do?
There are a couple of different so sound is all vibration, so you have to break that sound insulation, that vibration. Insulation helps, but you have lumber that's running through your ceilings or
Right.
your walls and it will just go straight through that. So you have to cause a break of that for that vibration. And there's a couple of different systems. They make a membrane now that you put up over the wall before your drywall. They have what they call silent drywall or soundproof or whatever. That helps some, but it's not foolproof at all. And then there's these, I guess I call them standouts, but it's a piece that you would add to the wall, kind of like a furring strip.
Mhm.
And then the drywall gets attached to that. That'll create that buffer also.
Right.
Just fewer points of contact for that vibration to get through.
Because the lumber,
And usually you're going to need to do more than just one of those.
right? You need redundance.
If you're serious about keeping sound out.
I've heard where they double drywall.
I mean, you could do that, and that would help. But it's still, I mean, if it's right there against
if it's against the wood, that wood is really good at transmitting.
yeah,
So are wires.
yeah,
You know, like your outlets.
I just think of the Beach Boys. Good vibrations.
yeah,
Chris doesn't hear anything because he's always singing.
yeah.
right.
He's got a soundtrack in his
Good
head.
How many people know this? He's a sleep singer. He doesn't snore. He sings in his sleep.
Yeah,
But you're right, that lumber transmits. So anything that's right up against it, because one of the things that I've seen firsthand is that built-in gap, like an air barrier between. It's like double drywall, right? There's a build out where the 2x4 there's like it's like a false wall that's only like 2 inches away. You don't have to be very far away. You just can't be connected to it.
Well, a lot of times we do that if we have plumbing on an exterior wall. You do a wall, drywall, and then another wall, and it can just be 1.5 inches or 2 inches thick. Doesn't have to be that thick, but that creates that cushion for that cold air. But it also deadens sound.
Right. In the house I'm thinking of, they had like a faux wall, but that membrane they used that on the first one, and then the gap, and it's no joke. You shut the door,
and there's nothing.
It's like it's gone. And then the basement is finished in one section, and they have like a faux wall, a faux ceiling, right, with foam that isn't touching. The foam just rests on the faux, so nothing touches that other those 2x whatever they are, or whatever the joists are or whatever,
right?
Because that's really what transmits it. And then they were thoughtful of the wiring. All wires to one area so that it won't transmit sound.
Yeah.
And this was at, did I see this in Vegas? No, I was at some little home show. God, maybe it was in Michigan. But the guy was showing me how outlets transmit sound. You can't tell. You don't know it, but you can hear it. And he was like holding this little meter, and he's like, look, this thing is emitting sound from over there through these wires. Yeah. And so when they build it, they build the wires out so they all go from one place. It's kind of interesting if you think about it. And he's like, he's building theaters.
Right.
So he's like, I got to protect the whole house from this room because it's loud.
Right.
And that's pretty cool. But
that is.
And it's not even you didn't describe anything that was like NASA. It's a pretty simple concept.
Yep.
And I just think you should think of it if your bedroom's near the area. It's just something to think about. Chris, when you're looking at when somebody comes to you and said, this is ugly, I want to redo it, what's your first thought when you're talking to somebody who leads with that?
Yeah, it's really ugly. No, I'm just kidding.
He agrees with him.
I agree.
He's like, yep, you're right. This is Measure Twice.
Podcasts by Federated Media.